Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Community Group Week and Happy New Year. I am so excited that you have made time to be a part of a Community Group Week and watch this video today. One of the things that we've talked a lot about over the last year is that we want to have these certain rhythms, these certain routines in our life that will help us become the kind of people who love Jesus, love each other, and love the world. And I think one of the best routines, rhythms that you can put in your life for 2022 is to regularly be a part of one of these groups. We grow best when we're doing it with other people. So as you get started today with this first group of the new year, take some time and share, how are you doing? Share these three questions. One, what is it that you are thankful for? I just went through a holiday season. What is it that you're really thankful for the last week or so? And then what are you stressed about? What maybe didn't go the way you wanted to over the holiday season as you look forward to this next year? What is it that seems challenging or stressful to you? And lastly, in our last group before the new year, we talked about the idea of loving our enemies and praying for the people that have hurt us. And so, how's that gone over the last couple weeks? Did you encounter anyone that you would consider to be someone who has been putting you down in life? Anyone that maybe you would consider to be an enemy? Were you able to be for them? Were you able to love them? Were you able to pray for them? So go ahead and discuss that with the folks in your group today. All right, well, here's what we're going to talk about today. We've been going through the Sermon on the Mount, this very wonderful countercultural way that Jesus calls us to live, and we are finally in chapter 6. So today we're looking at the very first part where Jesus is going to talk about giving. And a couple things I want you to notice before you launch into your discussion today. First, Jesus starts off this by saying, when you give to the poor. And so this is an assumption that Jesus is making, that if you are someone who is going to be listening to him and following him, giving to the poor is obviously going to be something that you do. And if you've been a part of what we do as a church, that's something that we encourage constantly, is that we want to be people that are very generous. And we talk about we want to be generous in three ways. And one of those is that we want you to give to the poor and the marginalized. Find an organization. This is a great rhythm for you to get started in this year. Find a group, an organization, something that you can give to on a regular basis. But what Jesus wants us to talk about today is the motivation. Why is it that we are giving? And he gives a couple different metaphors. One, he talks about the idea of you can give in a way where it's giving attention to yourself. He actually uses the idea that it's like a trumpet blasting. And what that would have been referring to is that 2,000 years ago, when people went to the theater, when there was a famous actor who would walk onto the stage, you would have no idea who the famous actor was because they'd be in costume, they'd have a mask on. You know, how do you know who the famous person is? And so whenever like the famous actor was coming on stage, a trumpet would blow to let everybody know, hey, this is someone that's very important. And there's a way in which you can give where you want the other people around you to know, hey, I am a really important person. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan. I love Seinfeld. There's a Seinfeld episode where George, one of the characters in the show, is giving a tip to someone. He's at a pizza parlor. But when he goes to put the tip in the jar, the guy behind the counter isn't looking anymore, and so he doesn't see that George put the tip in. And so then George tries to take the tip back out and tries to put it in again once he's actually watching, because for him it's not a matter of just wanting to give the tip. He wants credit. He wants the other person to be like, wow, this is someone who is really generous, someone who really wants to give a big tip. And I get that. I want everyone to think of me as a generous person. And so I have to watch motivation sometimes of, am I giving this in such a way? Am I serving so that other people will notice? Or am I doing it just because it's the right thing to do? Am I, out here volunteering and that way now I can take my Instagram picture and then everyone will see it? Or am I doing it because it's just the right thing to do? Another metaphor that Jesus is going to use is this idea of give in such a way that your left hand doesn't even know what your right hand is doing, which seems like a funny thing. And I think what Jesus is trying to say is that give in such a way that it just becomes completely natural. I mean, this isn't like a big deal. It's not like, oh my gosh, I gave today and everyone around me. It's just like, oh no, I'm such a generous person. I give all the time. And I guess I was generous today, but I didn't even really notice. It just wasn't that big of a deal. And by the way, I'm guessing people like this, that generosity is such just inside of them. It just for them to give money away, for them to serve, for them to volunteer, it just it's so normal. It just doesn't even register as a big deal because it's just who they are. This reminds me, there is a John Ortberg quote that we've used before, and it talks about the idea of just how we're changing. And that's our goal. We all want to be changing into these people who just love Jesus, love each other, and love the world. And so let me read the quote to you again. It says, when morphing, changing, happens, I don't just do the things Jesus would have done. I find myself wanting to do them. They appeal to me. They make sense. I don't just go around trying to do the right things. I become the right sort of person. And with being generous, this is something that Jesus wants us to become. And so, last thing, before you launch into your discussion, is Jesus talks about this idea of reward. And sometimes that makes us a little bit uncomfortable maybe, but I would love for you to talk about in your groups. What's the reward we get when we are generous, when we give? What's the reward we get when we give for our own benefit, so that other people see, so we get a plaque, or we get brought up on stage as some big giver? And what's the gift we get when we give as just because it's natural, because it's just who we are? So here's what I want you to do in your group. Read the text, read the first part of Matthew 6, 1 through 4 is where we're at today. Have someone read that, and then have someone else in your group paraphrase it, put it in their own words, and then discuss these questions. What stands out to you about it? What does this tell us about God? And what does this tell us about people? What does this tell us about us? And then these incredibly important questions, especially as you're looking into this new year of how you're going to live. If you were to apply this to your life, what would you do? What would this look like if this was true of your life in the next week, month, year? And then maybe write an I will statement based off of what Jesus has told us is the best way to live according to this scripture. What will I do? I will do what? And then lastly, is there anyone that you can share this with over the next couple days? Someone else that you think might really benefit from hearing this. So discuss that, and I'm so excited as we get started in this year of living this way of Jesus and generosity together. So have a great discussion.